The episode begins with a young, hardworking taxi driver, Soo-young, who supports his household, consisting only of his elderly grandmother, by earning enough money for their living. During one of his trips, he picks up a passenger who also appears to be a taxi driver but comes from a wealthy family. However, it seems he has problems with his family, which led him to work as a hired driver. During their conversation, they discuss the passenger's purchase of expensive headphones from Italy. Not long after, they reach their destination, but an unexpected incident occurs. They find that his headphones have been stolen by two thieves. The passenger quickly tries to chase them down but fails. He then offers Soo-young a large sum of money, after a quick negotiation, to catch the thieves. On their way, they contact the police and provide them with the thieves' car number. They also reach out to a group of private drivers in their area, who are all connected due to their shared profession. Soon, the thieves' car passes by one of the taxis, and a chase ensues. Other taxi drivers join in, and after an intense confrontation between the thieves and Soo-young, they successfully capture the criminals. The next day, Soo-young is at home with his kind-hearted grandmother. He rushes out to start his workday, thoroughly cleaning his car. While cleaning, he accidentally drops some coins from his bag and starts counting them, but he notices one is missing. As he searches, he discovers a mobile phone that seems to have been left behind by one of his passengers. He tries to unlock the phone to identify its owner, but suddenly, the phone emits an electric shock into his hand, causing him to drop it. When he picks it up again, a girl mysteriously appears inside his car out of nowhere. At that moment, he hears someone calling his name. It is his landlord, who informs him that his home will be put up for public auction if he does not pay off his debts. Soo-young is shocked, as he had not received any prior notice. He becomes furious upon seeing that his debt is incredibly high, 100 million won. However, the landlord tells him that if he can pay just 20 million by the end of the month, the auction can be avoided. That night, Soo-young sits in despair, thinking about how he can come up with the money. During this time, a girl wearing a costume requests a ride to Manguri Cemetery. When he accepts, he realizes she is part of a group of girls who look strange, which frightens him. However, they start laughing and reveal that they are actresses. After dropping them off at their filming location, he encourages himself to stay active and work hard to pay off his debts. As he drives, the radio starts making static noises, and suddenly, a girl appears in the back seat, terrifying him. He immediately stops the car, but the girl remains silent. Assuming she is one of the actresses he dropped off earlier, he apologizes, and she says she will leave. However, she exits the car through the door like a ghost, shocking him. She then walks away but suddenly jumps into the air against her will and re-enters his car. Meanwhile, his grandmother wonders why he is late. Back in the car, Soo-young seems unconscious, and the ghost girl tries to wake him up. However, she doesn't seem aware that she is a ghost. The moment she touches him, her hand passes through his body, terrifying her as well. Realizing she can pass through objects, she finally understands that she is a ghost. The next morning, Soo-young wakes up in shock and is even more horrified to find the girl still in his car. He panics and runs out of the vehicle, with the girl chasing after him, equally frightened. However, moments later, she is forcefully pulled back into the car. He hides and watches the car from a distance, wondering what is happening. But when he sees a police officer approaching to issue a ticket, he rushes back to the car. The officer asks to check inside the vehicle for the girl, but he finds no one. Soo-young thanks him and assumes the girl is gone. However, the moment he gets back in, he sees her sitting there, waiting for him, terrifying him again. Not knowing what to do, he remains silent for minutes before finally asking her why she is in his car. She replies that she doesn't know either and that she has no memory of anything, including her own identity. She even asks if he knows her personally. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a man receives a message from the police station informing him that a new investigator has been assigned to his case. Elsewhere, another man enters a hospital room and is shocked to see that the ventilator has been disconnected from a patient, who appears to be the ghost girl, Kang Ji-hyun. Back with Soo-young, he insists that he does not know the girl. She then suspects that he might be a spirit medium since he is the only one who can see her. However, he assures her that he has no idea why he can see her. At that moment, she remembers a vision from the previous night when Soo-young had passed out. She recalls seeing bloodstains on the seat next to him, making her suspect he might have hit her with his car. He quickly denies it, explaining that the blood came from the actresses he had driven the night before. He also reassures her that his car has never been in an accident in 20 years, ever since his mother owned it. She becomes frustrated, thinking he is the main suspect in her death. Angered, he insists that the blood was fake and tells her to leave him alone. But she says she cannot. Every time she tries to move away from the car, something forcefully pulls her back inside. died. He does not believe her at first, so she demonstrates it. As expected, the moment she moves a few meters away, she is suddenly pulled back into the car. This makes the situation even tenser. Just then, Soo-young's phone rings. It's a customer. He has no choice but to pick them up. When the passenger enters, he seems unaware of the ghost's presence. However, after a while, he suddenly feels sick and asks Soo-young to stop. The moment he steps out of the car, he feels better. Realizing the ghost is the cause, Soo-young angrily looks at her. That night, he finds himself without any customers and blames her for his misfortune. He told her that it was a big problem for him because no one could ride in the car with her around. He said that he had to work and pay the money he owed. During their conversation, Sun assured her that she was violating the law, pointing to some articles, but the girl stopped him and continued with some other laws that she seemed to have memorized in advance, which left them in a state of astonishment. They wondered if she had worked in law before, but he confirmed that he will return his money from her family and actually went to the police station asking the police about her identity after he drew her, but they said that the drawing was very weak and did not help in searching for her. But he continued asking if there was a case of a girl who died in an accident or something like that and indicated that she was in her 30s or 20s. Here the girl hurried and it seemed that she did not know her appearance, but to no avail as she had no reflection in the mirror. She started repeating some words to hear her voice and get closer to her actual age. But Sun was forced to return to the car, and then we went to the police station, who continued searching in the case of the girl Kong Ji and explained that the first one to find her was her friend Kong Hyung-soo. On the other hand, Sun was parking his car next to his house, confirming that he was very hungry and that because of her he could not eat all day. This angered Kong Ji with his cruelty. He assured her that he owed her a lot of money, asking her to disappear from his life. Leaving her and returning to his house, while she was standing in front of the car, she read the car's number and felt that it was familiar to her. Soon entered, closed the door, and tried to make sure that she was not around the house. Here, his grandmother asked him about the reason for his delay all this time. The next day, a lady was standing in front of a taxi, and it seemed that there was an old lady in the front seat. Sun's friend, the driver, was watching what was happening and quickly gave the lady a paper stating that the driver of the car was taking his mother who had Alzheimer's. The driver appeared apologizing to the lady and asked her to sit in the back. The driver thanked him and left. On the other side, Young was sleeping, and during that, some drops of blood began to fall on his face, and we see that they were coming from a ghost floating above his bed. He started screaming loudly and woke up and knew that this was a nightmare, which frightened his grandmother, who was trying to wake him up. She asked him to take her to collect old ladies are her friends. He was surprised by her request. On the other side, we see the girl Kong still waiting in the car. Soon stopped his grandmother and prevented her from sitting in the front seat without explaining to her what was happening. After some time, the grandmother began to admit that she was tired and nauseous and began to get angry with Kong because she was the reason for this and began to quarrel with her, which led to them colliding with one of the waste containers. Soon felt very sorry for his grandmother. He began to visit spiritual mediators to distract her from him. As soon as he began the rituals, Kong seemed unaffected and seemed to be a fraud. The sound of the phone stopped him. It was important that she was one of the doctors. He could not refuse, and as soon as he arrived, he asked him to hurry up. He was surprised that the doctor did not feel any fatigue, and it seemed that this was due to his high energy. The doctor rushed to help one of the cases as soon as he arrived. But this brought back some memories to Sun's mind about his mother's death. After some time, he returned to his house, but he did not want the ghost girl to know that it was his house. When she knew, he asked her not to enter his house for any reason, even if it was in the yard or the house. After entering his house, he saw one of the job applications on his grandmother's device for hiring the elderly, which made him sad. He helped her go to her bed to sleep. He entered his room, continuing his search for a solution to the ghost girl problem on the internet, and went to one of the forums. He saw someone talking about a new term called opening the door to the ghost kingdom. He warned against the ghost remaining around a person for a long time because it is possible to attract other ghosts because of it. The next day, he was hesitant to go to the car, but he decided to go after he learned that it was the only way to get money. On their way, they found someone indicating that they should stop, and they stopped, which shocked the man. The silence continued for seconds, and the silence was broken by Sun asking him to ride, but the man seemed surprised that he saw him. Here was the shock when Sun learned that this man was also a ghost, which made him even more angry, and he stopped aside after a while. It seems that the girl Kanji was afraid of the ghost man, explaining that it was the first time she had met another ghost. On the other hand, the man was extremely happy that there was someone who could communicate with him. And it began a short quarrel between Kanji and the ghost man over the right to stay with Sun, and she explained that she knew Sun before him and Kanji attacked him, and it was clear that she learned some methods of self-defense. Sun stopped them and moved the car, but they were still with him and fighting in the car, but stopped after a while for one of the customers, but this time the fly couldn't even enter the car door and apologized to Sun and walked away from him and went back home, and the two ghosts were still fighting. The next day he went to sell the car and the two ghosts stopped him, apologizing to him and trying to change his decision. Here they were shocked because they found another ghost asking them to take out a gold ring in one of the cars, and here we know that he was in an accident while he was going to sell the gold and that his daughter needs money as she is sick in the hospital, so they rushed to Sunday. They told him about the gold, and indeed upon his arrival he found the ring. Here the girl smiled, explaining that the ghosts can pay him money. Then Sun left, the man gave her the ring, and when her mother arrived the girl told her that a man gave her the ring and told her that it was from her father, which made her cry with happiness. Here, everyone is surprised that this was the reason for the man not going to the spirit world. At that moment the father's spirit disappears, finally at peace. In gratitude, the little girl gives Soo-young a piece of gold, and he smiles. As they drive away, the ghost girl Kang Ji-hyun suggests that ghosts can actually help him earn money. The episode ends with Soo-young deciding to become a taxi driver for ghosts.